Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're stepping away from the data charts and plunging right into the dark, untamed heart of the Ozark Mountains. We're investigating a seriously chilling piece of local folklore, a mystery that has haunted these ridges for generations. So settle in, because we're opening the case file on the shadow of the Ozark Howler. We're going to break down the source text to understand exactly how this story constructs such a vivid, terrifying atmosphere.
Okay, let's dive into this. Right from the jump, the legend hooks us with this incredible, aggressive, auditory nightmare. Listen to this description. A sound that tears through the night like a rusted blade through silk. I mean, wow. It isn't just a loud noise, right? It's a violent disruption of nature. The author uses this striking imagery to immediately establish that whatever is making this noise is entirely unnatural. It's a terrifying sensory warning that sets the stage for the whole mystery we're unpacking today.
Section 1. The Fragile Forest Silence.
To really grasp the impact of this legend, we have to understand the environment. Picture this. Deep in the Ozarks, the ridges stretch out like the spines of slumbering beasts, and the valleys literally swallow the moonlight whole. Out there, the silence of the forest is a fragile thing. When that silence shatters, the psychological terror sets in instantly. The text says you are no longer the master of your own path. Hearing the creature's cry triggers this visceral realization. You instantly shift from being a confident traveler to realizing with absolute dread that you are prey.
Section 2. Anatomy of a Nightmare. So, what exactly is out there in the dark? Based on what the old folks of the region say, the howler operates with a really chilling contrast to natural predators. When we think of a wolf, we think of frantic, biological hunger. But the howler? It's characterized entirely differently. It doesn't hunt with mere animal hunger. It hunts with the ancient, waiting patience of the wilderness itself. It doesn't need to chase you down immediately. It knows it holds all the cards, and it can afford to just wait you out.
Opening up the specific physical profile the text provides, it's described fundamentally as a cat-like nightmare. Its body is massive, colored as black as a pit without a floor. Think about that for a second. It's essentially an absence of light, making it totally invisible in the dark woods. The only thing you might catch a glimpse of are its eyes, burning like cooling coals. And then there's that signature scream lingering on the high ridges. The source describes it as half panther's rage and half human despair. Injecting that human element into an animalistic rage, that is absolutely what turns a traveler's blood to ice.
Section 3. The Wise Man's Mistake. To see how these terrifying elements actually play out, the source shares a specific, fatal narrative. It's about a local man who considered himself incredibly experienced, maybe a bit arrogant, and he ventured way too deep into the hollers after dark. It was a perfectly ordinary evening until that heavy silence was violently broken. The text notes that he heard the scream, but emphasizes it wasn't just an auditory experience. It was a physical force, a horrific vibration that literally rattled his very bones. That is the exact moment his primal survival instincts kicked in, and he knew he was no longer alone.
Now, at first he didn't even see the creature. He only saw the brush move. But way more terrifying than the movement was the sensation that came with it. He felt the gaze. The source describes this as feeling the physical weight of a look that carried the cold indifference of the ancient forest. It's that skin-crawling paranoia of the woods, completely realized. With absolute certainty, he knew he was being watched by something vast, something ancient, and something that did not care at all if he lived or died.
When the man finally found the courage to turn toward that heavy, indifferent feeling in the brush, there they were. Two glowing red eyes, suspended right there in the absolute darkness, unblinking and vast. Because its body is described as a black pit, the man couldn't even see a shape or an outline. Just imagine that for a moment. The utter, consuming blackness of the Ozark night, pierced only by those fiery, coal-like eyes locking directly onto him.
Let's map out his final moments here. A hopeless realization sets in. He stood completely frozen, with nowhere to run to in that unmapped wilderness. He just waited there in the dark until the howl came again, closer this time. A sound so completely unnatural it actively stripped his mind of hope. And the aftermath? By morning, his cabin at the edge of the woods stood completely empty, save for the stillness. A chilling, deeply ambiguous disappearance.
Section 4. The Wilderness is Waiting.
So, what does this all mean? According to the text, stories like this serve a profound cultural purpose. The Ozark Howler is much more than just a monster.
It is the physical embodiment of the untamed wilderness itself. It acts as a final, terrible boundary marker. It's a way for generations past to warn us about the vast, hungry spaces of the natural world that we simply cannot control. It reminds us that, yes, there are spaces in this world where humanity is not meant to tread.
This brilliantly illustrates that lingering fear we all get when we step outside the safety of our city lights. I want you to really ask yourself this eerie question. What is waiting just beyond the flicker of your lantern? When you're out camping in the woods and your flashlight beam ends, what exists in that pitch black? You can't see it, but you know it's there. The legend of the Howler is incredibly effective because it capitalizes on that exact, terrifying fear of the unknown that is hardwired into every single one of us.
We're going to wrap up today's explainer with this final, chilling piece of advice taken directly from the source material. If you ever find yourself deep in the Ozarks and you hear that impossible howl echoing down from the high ridges tonight, do not go looking for the source. Instead, remember these words. Lock your door, snuff your light, and pray that the mountain is already full. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating, dark piece of folklore today. Keep exploring, stay curious, and hey, maybe double-check those locks tonight. I'll see you in the next explainer.